Welcome everyone. In the previous lecture we have seen code division multiple access. We will take a overlook what we have covered for this point. Code division multiple access is. So first of all we have seen what is a code division multiple access, and then we have also seen the binary sequence, and one element is known as the chip sequence for direct spread sequence spread spectrum system. And accordingly we have also seen the direct sequence spread spectrum in detail, where we found some of the equations that is related to the upper link frequency, downlink frequency, and this is the basic model of CDMA system. That already we have seen how the code signal C of t has been acquired with the acquisition and tracking system. What is the code signal, that what is its clock speed, and what is the chip period that we find. From this diagram we have seen that generation of the 7 chip maximal sequence code, and accordingly the autocorrelation function for the code signal C of t that we have found, where the two of the equations which are very important for us is for the generating the autocorrelation function, and this will give us the autocorrelation waveform. So these equations for acquisition and tracking that we need to find here. So what is acquisition and tracking? So one form of acquisition circuit that makes use of the autocorrelation function that we'll see in the figure is where the output from the first multiplier is E of t, and that we have defined accordingly from the previous diagram. We can see here this is our diagram, and the required equations for this is already we have find the maximum sequence phi of n and S max according to this phi of n also. And for the equations of this we have seen accordingly what is E of t. Okay, so these equations we required here, Ed of t, and the first equation is EU of t that we have to find out here. So we'll go towards the first acquisition and tracking system, and where we are finding out the equation. Okay, so for acquisition and tracking, one form of acquisition circuit that multipliers output we found here is E of t is equal to, this is the autocorrelated signal C of t minus t ct pt and cos of omega dt, and accordingly we got the equation as C of t minus t C of t cos of omega dt plus phi of t. So this will nothing but the maximal sequence that we got. Here the information modulation, which is the BPSK, is shown as phi of t, so that the effect of the following bandpass filter on the amplitude can be more clearly seen. The BPF has a passband centered on WD, that is on downlink frequency, wide with respect to the information modulation but narrow with the respect to the code signal. So this is bandpass filter has a passband centered on the downlink frequency, and which is wider with respect to the information modulation, and it will be narrower with respect to the code signal. So it performs the amplitude averaging function on the code signal product. The averaging process can be illustrated, and here for this we consider the product of two cosine terms and its expansion. So first cosine term we are going to consider is cos of omega t into cos of omega t minus delta is equal to 1 by t cos of omega t plus omega t minus delta, and accordingly we got here the answer is 1 by 2 of cos of 2 omega t minus delta plus cos of delta. The bandpass filter will reject the high frequency component, leaving only the average component, that is 1 by 2 of cos delta. This signal may be considered analogous to the product of code signal C of t and what we can say here is correlated function C of t minus v terms that already we have seen in the earlier equation. So the envelope detector, when we are finding, go for this diagram, that is acquisition of carrier in code division multiple access systems. We can see this is the multiplier where we got one of the signal is C of t p of t cos omega dt is given to the band pass filter, and then it will enter to the envelope detector. What this will do is, the envelope detector, which is following this band pass filter, produces an output which is proportional to the envelope of the signal, that is to the average value of C of t into C of t minus v. This is a direct measure of the autocorrelation function, and that will be produced here. When it is less than the predefined threshold, if the autocorrelation function and C of t average value is less than the predefined threshold Vt that is required for the synchronism, the time shift V is incremented. So here that we are providing to the threshold detector, where it will get checked whether the envelope signal is greater than threshold or less than threshold. If it is less than threshold, this V of t will be incremented, or this time shift V is incremented here. Okay, and afterwards it will given to the PN sequence generator and autocorrelations. After this is nothing but total process of autocorrelation. So after shifting, signal will be given to the PN generator and then to the mixer, and we are providing this to the coherent circuit. So once the threshold has been reached or it will be exceeded, that already we have seen in the diagram, that is this will decide whether it is increased or it will exceed or less than the threshold value, depending on some of the decisions that we have to make here, whether the V average is greater than threshold or V average is less than threshold. So in that case, when V of average is greater than threshold, we have to enable the tracking. Okay, and if it is less than threshold, we have to make the time shift that we are incrementing. So here, once the threshold has been reached or it has been exceeded, the system switches from acquisition mode to the tracking mode. Once it has been captured, now system will go for tracking of the signal continuously. One form of tracking circuit, the delay lock loop, is already we have seen here. So that as per the PLL circuit, where what we did is, for phase lock loop is, initially we are trying to acquire the phase lock, and once that lock has been acquired, then continuously signal will get checked. Okay, the same way here is acquisition. Once we have acquired the threshold value, then it will goes into the tracking mode. Okay, and that circuit is nothing but the delay lock loop that we'll see. Here two correlators in the delay lock loop. Two correlators are used, but the local signal to one is advanced by half a chip period relative to the desired code waveform, and the other is delayed by the same amount. The output of the correlators are subtracted, and this difference signal provides the controlled voltage for the voltage controlled oscillator. This VCO will drive the shift register clock. With the controlled voltage at the zero crossover point, the locally generated code signal is in phase with the received code signal. So any tendency to drift out of phase changes the VCO in such a way as to bring the controlled voltage back to the zero crossover point. So VCO always continuously changes its output frequency depending on the value of input voltage. Thus it will maintain the synchronism. The acquisition and tracking circuits also will attempt to correlate the stored version of code signal C of t at the receiver with the other waveforms that will be received by the circuit. Such correlations are termed as cross correlations. It is essential that the cross correlation function not show a similar peak as the autocorrelation, and this requires here the careful selection of spreading functions used in the overall systems. So we can see here in the circuit there is a delay lock loop. How it will works as the similar to the phase lock loop. Okay, we know that we got the signal at the multiplier where it is given to the PN generator. So same circuit what earlier we have seen is signal is given to band pass filter, then envelope detector, then threshold will get checked. Up to this we have seen here. Then PN generator to again to the mixer circuit. So depending on different thresholds. So this is the loop filter. Okay, and here is we got that the envelope detector again. So it is nothing but the delay lock loop, and this is the waveform of the adder circuit. So here we got added output at this point. So now the spectrum spreading and despreading that we will see. In general, for a BPSK signal at a bit rate RB, the main lobe of the power density spectrum occupies a bandwidth extending from Fc minus RB to Fc plus RB. That is, the range has been given here, Fc minus RB to Fc plus RB. So a similar result applies when the modulation signal is C of t and the power density spectrum that being sketched. Here we have seen what is the spectrum spreading and then despreading. So it should be mentioned here that because of the code signal C of t exhibits periodicity, the spectrum density will be a linear function, and this will show the envelope of the spectrum also. So we are going to see this into the next figure, how the spectrum shows the power density that will be represented in watts per hertz in the signal. So here we can see that this is the spectrum of the BPSK signal where the center frequency is Fc and it will ranges from Fc minus Rb to Fc plus Rb, and this is with the spreading, how the signal will get stretched or spread from Fc minus Rch to Fc plus Rch. For constant carrier power, it follows that if a signal is forced to occupy a wider bandwidth, its spectrum density will be reduced. So from this one we can find out this is initially the bandwidth of the original signal. When we are forcing this signal to increase its bandwidth, then what happens is its spectrum density, this is the spectrum density has been get reduced here. So now very low spectrum density will be given into the B waveform. Okay, so with spreading of the bandwidth, density gets reduced. So this is a key result in CDMA system. In all direct sequence spaced spectrum systems, the chip rate is very much greater than the information bit rate, or we can say that RH% of RB. Here RCH is the chip rate and RB is the bit rate. The bandwidth is determined mainly by the chip rate, that is RCH, so that the power density of the signal described is spread over the bandwidth determined by the chip rate. The power density will be reduced approximately in the ratio of RCH to RB. Okay, that is RCH by RB. Assuming then that acquisition and tracking have been accomplished, that C of t in the receiver performs in effect a spreading function in that it restores the spectrum of the wanted signal to what it was before. What it will do is C of t in the receiver performs in effect a despreading function. It will performs in effect of despreading functions in that it stores the spectrum of the wanted signal, where it will store the spectrum of the what actually it wants and what it was before the spreading. Okay, what it will store is original signal, it will stored here, and that is before the spreading operation in the transmitter, what will be there is the original signal will be stored here. Okay, this is also how the spread spectrum technique can reduce the interference. Okay, so that in this way we can reduce the interference of the spread spectrum technique. So the spectra of two signals, an interfering signal that is not part of the CDMA system and that has not been spread, and the desired, that is direct sequence spread spectrum, the received signal, we will see here how they will get related. And following the despreading operation of the desired signal, its spectrum is stored as described previously. What we have described is original signal from the transmitter before spreading has been stored at the receiver. The interference signal, however, is simply multiplied by the code signal C of t, which results in it beginning spread. So that will be results in the spread beginning of the spread signal. So here we can see that this is the interfering signal having center frequency fc. This is what we have said, the stretch signal, spread signal. This will show us the spreaded signal where its bandwidth has been widened and its power density will get reduced. This is direct sequence spread spectrum, which is the desired signal. Okay, now here at the receiver we can see that this is the despread desired signal. Actually it has been stored at the receiver from whatever transmitter have sent, that will be stored at the receiver, and this is the spread interfering signal. Okay, so in this we have seen that whatever is signal having the wider bandwidth is a spread interfering signal, and this is nothing but the original signal from the transmitter what we are sending, which is a despreaded desired signal. So what is first figure will show that spectrum of an interfering and non-spread signal along the spread desired signal. Okay, so that there will not be interference because whatever is the power density of both the signal is different, so there is no interference. Similarly here we can see, so B is nothing but the effect of despreading operation on the desired signal and resulting in the spread of the interference. So whatever desired signal we got as it is, and interference signal will get spreaded here. So the point that we have to cover regarding the CDMA assignment is CDMA throughput. The maximum number of channels in a CDMA system can be estimated, and that will be, it is assumed that the thermal noise paired with the noise resulting from the overlapping channel is equal power into the, that is PR into the receiver. For a total of k channels, k minus 1 of these will produce noise, and assuming that this is evenly spread over the noise bandwidth Bn of the receiver. The noise density that is represented in watts per hertz, we can represent it as N0 is equal to k minus 1 into PR, where PR is nothing but the power received at the receiver. Let the information rate of the wanted channel will be defined as RB. Then we can find out EB is equal to PR by RB. Okay. Then the beat energy to noise density ratio is energy EB by noise is N0 is equal to Bn, that is beat rate, divided by k minus 1 into RB with reference to the above equations. What is Bn? Bn is the bandwidth, and N0 is noise density, which is k minus 1 into PR. So we can write here the beat energy to noise density ratio. Beat energy EB is PR by RB. Okay, and what is N0 is k minus 1 into RB. So what we got is k minus 1 into PR. So PR will get cancelled here. What is remaining is only Bn by k minus 1 RB. The noise bandwidth at the BPSK detector will be approximately equal to the intermediate frequency bandwidth and is given by equation. Intermediate bandwidth BIF is equal to 2B is equal to 1 plus rho into RB. RB is beat rate, that is channel rate. Okay. So, but using the cheap rate, we can define the bandwidth. N bandwidth is approximately is equal to the intermediate frequency bandwidth, and that we are equating is equal to 1 plus rho into RCH, where RCH is cheap rate, where rho is the roll-off factor of the filter. Hence, the beat energy to noise density ratio, that is EB by N0, is equal to 1 plus rho into RCH divided by K minus 1 into RB. The probability of beat error is usually a specified objective, and this determines the EB by N0 ratio. For example, the number of channels is therefore defined as K is equal to 1 plus rho into RCH by RB into N0 by EB. This is the processing gain. GP is basically the ratio of power density in the unspread signal to that in the spread signal. What is processing gain? Is the ratio of power density in the unspread signal to the spread signal. Since the power density is inversely proportional to the bandwidth, an approximate expression for the processing gain is hence that we can define processing gain GP is equal to RCH by RB, and K we can define as 1 plus rho into GP N0 by EB, where EB is energy beat rate. The throughput efficiency is defined as the ratio of the total number of beats per unit time that can be transmitted with 4 division multiple access to the total number of beats per unit time. That could be transmitted with single access and no spreading, that is de-spreading we can see. For K accesses as determined, each at beat rate RB, the total beats per unit time is KRB. Okay, so a single access could utilize the K full bandwidth. What is K is? K is nothing but the number of users, accesses. So this can be determined as the beat rate we are defining as RB. Total beat per unit time is KRB. So this single access could utilize the full bandwidth, and hence its transmission rate as determined we can define as RT is the transmission rate is intermediate frequency bandwidth divided by 1 plus rho. This is the same as the cheap rate, and hence the throughput is defined as eta is equal to beat per unit time divided by transmission rate K into RB by RT, where we can have defined that beat rate is similar to the cheap rate. So this throughput efficiency eta can be written as KRB by RCH. Okay, and we know that RB by RCH is processing gain. So this throughput efficiency again we can define in terms of K and processing gain. So it is K by GP. So using the values that whatever we have obtained here gives us a throughput of 0.15 to 15%. 0.15, or we can when defining in the percentage, which is 15%. This should be compared with the frame efficiency for TDMA systems. Here what we are defining the throughput efficiency, where it is seen that the throughput efficiency can exceed 90%. CDMA offers several advantages for satellite networking, especially when we are using the VSAT type terminals where it is involved. These are, what are the advantages? There are several advantages. First one is the beam width for VSAT antennas is comparatively broad and therefore could be subject to interference from adjacent satellites. The interference rejection properties of CDMA through spreading are considerable help here. The second advantage is for multipath interference. For example, that resulting from reflections can be avoided and provided that the time delay of the reflected signal is greater than a chip period and the receiver lock into the direct wave. Okay, what is advantages? What we can hear is it will be avoided the time delay of the reflected signal. Multiple path interference will be avoided here because of the reflection signal will have greater time delay than the chip period. Okay, this third of the advantage is synchronization between the stations in the system is whatever is not required here as TDMA, where synchronization is a critical feature of the system. This means that a station can access the system at any time. Synchronization problem is not present here. So we can access this system at any time of interval. So degradation is the another advantage, that degradation of the system is gradual with an increase in number of users. That is, we can reduce the ratio of beat energy to the noise energy, whatever that is EB by N0 reduction will be there. So there is degradation of the system is gradual with an increase in number of users. Means if number of users are also increased, there should not be any kind of degradation in the services. Thus the additional traffic could be accommodated if some reduction in performance will be acceptable here. Okay, so more number of additional traffic can be accommodated in this type of system. The one of the only disadvantage with this code division multiple access is the low throughput efficiency. That we have seen is 15% of throughput efficiency will be given by the code division multiple access. So till now, for related to CDMA, we have seen lot of things, that direct sequence paired spectrum, then according to this what is the acquisition and tracking system, then what is the CDMA throughputs, how we are using for the delay lock loops. All these things we are related here. Again we have compared the CDMA technique with the TDMA, how it will be advantageous, and how this CDMA technique will be accessible and assigned for the satellite communication that we have seen. In the coming lectures we will see the SDMA technique, which is for the satellite communications, how this SDMA will be work. Thank you.